Hey YouTube, how's everybody doing? My name is JC. I want to welcome you to the Cuban Redneck DIY channel, where we make things on the cheap. Not just because I'm frugal and cheap, but because of value. Let's be honest, nowadays we don't get a lot of value for our dollar, and whenever possible, I like to make my own things, just not only to save money, but to make it my own color, my own way, without any restrictions. So I want to thank you for stopping by. I want to thank those who have subscribed. If you haven't already done so, help me out. Click that little button. It is free and it really helps us out. So say hello to my cactus. The wife wanted to have a cactus. We've had some in the past. I don't know if you're aware, but this thing's put out some pretty nice flowers. This particular one puts out a big white flower, multiple of them. And they're very easy to keep. I barely water them, just leave them out in the sun. Can't complain about that. With that said, our neighbor has a few of them, and she was trimming it. She said, "I'll give you one of the branches, and you can just let it sit around for about 5 or 6 weeks. It will start growing roots, at which time you can plant it." All right, no problem. Well, it's been about 5 or 6 months. This guy's been underneath one of my benches. I was ready to throw it out. So today I go look at it, and what do you know? The thing is growing roots, so it is time to look for a pot planter. Didn't want one of those Walmart specials, terracotta wannabe things. I wanted something rustic and preferably made out of wood. I had one in the past that was like a little barrel, like a 5 or 6 gallon little wood barrel. It almost looked like a whiskey barrel. Not necessarily looking for that, but just something made out of wood and nice. Went online, and as always, Wayfair did not disappoint. $300, $400. I don't know what the valuation for those things are. Never seen one, but it seemed a little bit, overpriced to me. Even Lowe's, for God's sakes, $200, $100. Yeah, there were some for 50, 60 bucks. They look kind of cheesy, made overseas, etc. That's not me. So I decided to make one, and my budget is not $200, not $100. It's actually around 10 bucks. So if this is of interest, please stick around. Let me show you. As far as materials are concerned, I'm going to use the same fence boards as I used on the American flag project. For the plant pot, I decided to use one of these 5-gallon square buckets. Although they are about $1.50 more than the round ones, I want beginners with minimal or no power tools to be able to make this project. We'll start by figuring out what is the height of our bucket. Because of the slanted walls, it's sometimes difficult to get an accurate reading. It is a good idea to put a board across either the bottom or the top and measure from there. We're also going to measure the bottom with and without added spacers to figure out the dimensions for the bottom apron. Now that we have all the dimensions, we can go over to the miter saw and cut out the pieces. I cut 8 pieces for the side wall, 1 for the bottom apron, and 2 pieces for the top apron. After cutting all the pieces to length, it is time to cut the top and bottom aprons to width on the table saw. Note that this entire project can be done with just a jigsaw. The one tool I recommend to beginners to get if they're looking to make woodworking projects around the house. With all of the pieces cut, it is time to move on with assembly. We'll start by installing the bottom apron. I use hot glue to hold it in place and follow it up with 1 1/4 inch drywall screws. From there I moved to the side panels. I knew that 2 of the facers were going to be a little bit too wide, but how much I wasn't quite sure. So I went ahead and mounted 2 of the ends, traced how much I needed to cut, trimmed the excess, and proceeded with the installation. With the main body of our wood planter box complete, it is time to figure out what are we going to do with the voids on the corners. I had 1 piece of fence board left, so I went back to the miter saw and cut it into 4 pieces as slightly longer than the overall height of the planter. With that said, I still have to deal with the angles or tapering of the bucket, so I rigged up a temporary jig just to cut 8 pieces that would make up the legs for my wood planter box. After putting them together with 1 1/4 inch brad nails, I went back to the miter saw and mitered the ends of the pieces I had ripped earlier.
This makes up all the wood pieces I need for this project, so I started prepping for the final assembly by giving them all a quick sanding. It was doing this procedure and while marking up the pieces that I realized that the legs needed some type of accent. And although it's getting late in the day, I do have a little bit of olive green acrylic paint by Apple Barrel. I decided to use it, but not before diluting it with alcohol at a ratio of 75% alcohol, 25% paint. The objective here is to stain, not to necessarily paint them. I always like the texture of the wood to show through. While that dries, and it will rather quickly because of the alcohol, let's work on the top apron.
Alright guys, so while the corners dry, I decided to put together the top apron. This is going to take a few minutes to dry, and once we get this done, we can move forward to assembly. I don't even know if I recorded this, but the top apron is nothing but 4 pieces of equal length cut at 45 degrees, or what is called miter. This is something that a lot of people, a lot of beginners, woodworkers, kind of shy away from, or are kind of hesitant about it or scared about. As long as you have the right tools, the job is normally pretty easy. You got a lot of options when it comes to doing miters and putting them together. You can make some jigs. You can buy some clamps. Harbor Freight has some has a corner clamp for like $5. Lowe's has one, $6-7. Entry level stuff, but they do work. I prefer my own jigs just because they allows me to compensate for my lack of skill. This one is both made out of scrap wood. This is just a piece that is square and has a 1-inch hole with 245-degree angle cuts onto it. The way it works is you put your 2 pieces together, you bring this in, and you're going to get a small clamp. Obviously I need one bigger than this, but it makes pressure while the glue sets. I normally use this one for making boxes and holding the 2 pieces together while I screw it. For frames and little small things like this, I'd rather use this ones. This is just a good 90 with 2 1-inch holes. I sand all the edges off so nothing gets hung up. And the way it works is just pretty much the same way. You're gonna put this one right there at the edge. You're going to put a clamp okay, and then we're going to get a second edge, and we're going to get another clamp. By the way, if you see this clamps on sale at Harbor Freight, they normally on sale for like 99 cents. Keep them going. Don't waste your money. They don't hold anything. I like a lot of things from Harbor Freight. Those clamps are not one of them. So here it is. You got pressure being applied while your glue sets. I will be using some CA glue here at the inside and at the tip, and I'll be using regular wood glue in between that. What's going to happen is the CA glue is going to set up in about 5 minutes. That's going to allow me to take off the clamps and move over to another corner. And it's still going to be weak. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. Probably going to take about 2 or 3 hours before you can really, abuse it. And but anyhow, this gives you pretty decent results. And if you have a little bit overlay, you can always sand it down. Note one thing: my desk is treated with carnauba wax, which is it's like a mold release almost, because I spill stuff on them all the time, epoxy, CA, wood glue, whatever, nothing sticks, and that's the reason why I wax my desk. If you glue this on top of something where wood glue is going to drip, so it's going to get it may get stuck to your desk, so be careful with that. I hope you learn something you take away something from this. let's get this done so we can assemble this planter and move forward.
I ran out of daylight, but with the top apron glued together and the legs somewhat dry to the touch, I decided to mount them onto the body of the planter so that tomorrow we are ready to add the final touches. Although fence boards will last many years outdoors, they are known for warping and flexing. For this reason, I decided to use liquid nail instead of screws. With that done, I left the pieces to dry overnight, and the following morning all I have to do is glue the top apron. I used a few bright nails just to hold it in place while the liquid nail dries, and also so that I can give it a heavy coat of clear. This may not be necessary, but given that I sanded the boards quite a bit, I am sure I removed some of its treated layers. Besides, a little bit of clear is never a bad thing. In fact, the clear coat accentuated the color of not only the legs but also of the natural wood. I wasn't sure if to include the planting of the cactus on this video, since it is not about planting plants. However, I did record it, so why not? After drilling 7 half-inch holes on the bottom of the bucket, I added about 2 inches of rocks to improve drainage. I then used a special soil called cactus planting mix that was mixed with local Florida sandy soil. And that is it. I am very pleased with the final product, and I am sure that once the wife sees it, she's going to have me make a few more. Folks, my name is JC, and this is the Cuban Redneck DIY channel. Thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to having you as a subscriber.